Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Andrea Greiner.
And I'm Katie Corbin.
Welcome to the Dreams to Dollars podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs and professionals who are on their way to actualizing their dreams into reality.
Join us in this lighthearted and unique podcast where we talk about business, success, life, and building a deeper trust in God and the universe.
We are here to elevate the conversation and bring the magic to build your legacy.
We're excited for you to be here. Can't wait to dive in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening in today. We're going to cover a really fun and kind of weird topic that maybe you don't actually hear a lot about. But I think it's a topic that is interesting because I think everybody feels it to some degree, but they don't talk about it necessarily. And we labeled this as the popularity contest of social media and how you are or aren't engaging in this social media avenue. And what are you engaging it for? Right. So when we're talking about, and we're going to bring this back to business, not really at a personal aspect, because for personal reasons, a lot of people use social media for community, for connection, watching people's kids, picture, like whatever you use it for. But when it comes to business, it can be really interesting to draw the line whether or not you're actually utilizing your social media to gain clients and to get business and to influence and get followers, or what strategy do you have around it? Or are you almost utilizing it for how popular you could be on social media? Because I will say, in this era of social media, there's a lot of even influencers out there that may seemingly have massive followings, but are they actually doing well in business, or are they utilizing their business? Like, yes, a lot of them are. But the funny thing is sometimes there's this concept that the more popular you are on social media and the more followers you have on social media, or connections or subscribers, that you're automatically doing well in business. And that's not true, because you actually, if you're utilizing your platform, whatever it is, how many ever followers you have, in the right way, in a business sense, to gain clients, whether it's for a service or a product or a retreat or an experience or a group program, whatever it is, and you have the intention that that's what you're utilizing it for, you're that's the point, right? In business, we can leave out the popularity contest and us also comparing ourselves to somebody else that may have millions and millions of followers, but aren't doing anything with their platform. So it's all coming back to intention. And I find that there's this idea that the way that you get your business at a certain level is by, going viral on social media or having a million followers. And that's the only way you do it. And I want to say that is not true to any degree. Now, I do believe all businesses that, I don't want to say all, but the majority of businesses can utilize social media for a platform that can bring in more revenue. But the whole point is saying, what are you utilizing social media for? For a popularity contest and to feel good about yourself and get dopamine hits? Or are you actually utilizing it for client attraction and getting your message out there and finding the right clients? So I know you have something probably to say about this, Andrea. It's a fun topic to talk about, and we want to kind of make light of it and bring it forward.
Yeah. And I love how you say, like, one of the most important things is like, what is my intention with this? So both Katie and I build our business on social media as a part of reaching more people, bringing our mission to more people. And I would say we don't have millions of followers, and we both have six-figure businesses. So I also want to put that out there. When I see someone like really cranking and chasing the numbers, then, like, it's not always about, sure, more, like Katie said, the more people you have, the more likely it is that you can have clients, but you don't need, what is it? 1,000 clients can get you to $1 million, if you have the right strategy, or 1,000, so you don't need this. Where is your energy? This is what's really coming to me. Like, where is your energy going? What is your intention with that? So if you're going, and we have clients in both worlds where they might have a lot of followers and not monetizing, or they have little followers and they are monetizing, right? And there's no judgment. It's just a different place of where you are. So, getting really clear on what am I using it for? Is it to attract attention? And if that was what it was, then there's no problem with that. But it's definitely will divert the energy from monetizing, right? If it's just attention. And we have had past clients that they were going for attention, and what happens with that is they often aren't in front of the people that their program or their one-to-one offer is, or this other thing. So it actually creates a split energy in what you don't have a grounded vision. It's like, well, I really need attention. I need this attention. I need this attention. And this particular example is like, it was seeking the masculine attention, but then the business part of the job, or the offer, the program, was in a totally different subject. And so then it almost fed back into this insecurity of it's not enough, nobody's buying, but the whole audience was not somebody that was going to buy the product, right? So I think Katie and I have differing ideas about having necessarily like one client avatar, but the energetics and the intention it contributes when they are all kind of in that same world. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, it is interesting too. When I first started using social media for my brick and mortar business way back, I mean, I can't even remember. It was like where advertising was very still new on social media. And I remember even back then, I utilized it to gain clients in the beginning. And it generated me multi-millions dollars in revenue. And it was amazing because I had some people, I remember when it was kind of new, they're like, "Oh, I see your page a lot and you're posting too much." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, just because they weren't really doing well in their business, and I had hired somebody to actually utilize my social media way back to optimize it. And I wasn't looking for popularity. I was actually looking for clients. I wanted my business to do well, and I knew that was an avenue that would help it do well. And it was really interesting how even other people could take the way that you're doing social media. Like, this is not my popularity contest. Like, I'm not worried about that. I don't really care. The person that was, I remember telling me this, like, they were not my client. They were not my ideal client either. So,
Yeah.
and this was before
Yeah.
where actually business pages, right? This is not the case anymore. You could actually see a lot of the business page posting organically. And that's really not the
Yeah.
case anymore anywhere, any now for social media, for Facebook anyways, that you mainly have to pay to have people see your post. Not
Yeah.
always true, and the algorithm will always change. This is 2024 that we're talking about this, but it was really interesting. I remember that moment being like, I don't care if people think I'm posting too much. Like, that's their problem. And the generation of revenue wasn't the only thing that generated my revenue, but at the time when I was heavy into brick and mortar, it was an avenue that I utilized. And it is you can use social media organically. Clearly, you don't have to use Facebook ads to make the money that you desire. But what we're talking about is, like, again, the intention of why you're doing it. And then also, who cares if people don't like your page? They can unfollow it. Who cares if they don't want to see your stuff? Like, they can unfollow you. Like, you're not looking to be popular and please everybody, right? Unless you're looking at, like, a general population product maybe, but still you probably have a clientele that you're going after, and you're not going to have to please the other clientele. So we wanted to bring this forward though as well, because I think there can be with business owners, and this is something important I think to say, is that sometimes we actually can compare ourselves with somebody else scrolling. Like, you're scrolling and you pop on a page and you look at somebody and they're like in the same field as you and they have a pretty good social media following or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, I don't have that yet," or "I haven't built that on Instagram, but I did it on Facebook." And you started to get in comparison, but you actually have no idea what is on the back end of that business and how well that person is doing. This is the part about social media that is kind of funny. And even about, uh,
Yeah.
the PR part is like, you can be falling apart and your social media can look like everything is awesome. Like it's that one
Yeah.
moment where you take your
Yeah.
picture of your kids and it's like we
Right
like
before you.
laugh about take your pictures of your kids and you're like that one moment that everybody looks perfect, but
Yeah.
then 2 minutes before everybody's screaming and you're
Yeah.
like, that wasn't the only moment in my business or in my life that is looking at the big picture. So and this is kind of funny too as well because we can snapshot these moments, but it's not actually like the big picture of what's going on in the business. Just because somebody has a big following doesn't mean they're monetizing it. And just because somebody has a smaller following, whatever is small, whatever is big, right? Like millions, 100,000, whatever, um, it doesn't mean they're actually monetizing that following in the way that they want to. And then again, if somebody tends to be more organic and more kind of grassroots, then it doesn't mean they're not making a lot of money. So it really
Yeah.
depends on how the back end of your business is running. The front end is literally just like, wow, you were homecoming queen in high school. Does that even matter anymore? Like, does that even matter? Maybe it matters to that person, but it's not going to get you anywhere in the real world.
Yeah. And I want to add, so these two big topics we're talking about here is like competition and comparison, right? So if we get lost in competition and comparison, and then that kind of like diverts all the energy into something that like lessens the whole, like all of that, all it's like we're all here on the planet to like bring what we're here, Katie's work is a little bit different than my work. I want to bring people into their meridians and the magic and limitlessness and help them through their bodies and their businesses in a couple different modalities that I have. And like we each if we're not focused on like getting our message to more people and we're only focused on the popularity or we're comparing or we're in competition, it's like it just diverts all of that potency of you into to less of you.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I know I've said this already, but like when we're creating something together or I'm really focused on creating something, I have to just put on blinders. And there are certain people that I will just snooze because maybe our work is a little close, or I'm just like, oh, every time I watch that, I like my energy goes, ooh, like whatever it is. You have those people, you're like, ugh, like you might be like judge them, but then you're judging yourself. So I sort of snooze that space so that I can come and we both use social media as a major platform to generate clients and leads and to bring our magic, right? And so you might find that you're comparing yourself a lot to someone or you're in competition and you're like maybe even quiet, maybe a shame in, there's a little shame in there. But if you like get clear on your intention and you can delete, you can unfriend. I usually snooze because typically I'm just like really focused on something and and if it is really a place you're here to commit to build, then you're not here for your high school friends necessarily. And you're not here for your friends from college necessarily. Now, have some people traveled with me and become clients? Yes. I am all for that. But am I only going to speak to the person that I used to be in high school or college or even medical school? And then even outside of medical school, like that's been, gosh, now 41 years. So you're here to speak to like your mission, what you're here to do, who you're here to help or contribute to now. And if the more and more clarity you have with that and the higher intention you have, it will create like, I don't know, it's sort of like, it's not a better than or less than. It just will really contribute to you standing out when you really know why you're using social media.
Yeah, and it goes back to how do you want to market your services and what areas are you utilizing to do that? Because we can look really busy and doing a lot of things and it can amount to nothing. And we
Oh my
can
gosh.
be,
Right.
like we can be very strategic and very intentional and it can amount to millions and billions of dollars, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much time we're spending on it, and it doesn't matter how many likes you're really getting. Like
Yeah.
I even find that on my social media sometimes people never engage in my content and then they become a client, It's like even like
Yeah.
the silent lurkers. And I actually tend to be that kind of client too, as well. So I'm not surprised that my clients tend to be silent lurkers. They're not always commenting on my stuff, but they're watching, and they
Yeah.
don't, they don't care to engage in that. They're not worried about that popularity contest. So it is interesting when we think about competition in general and like what that means. And it's sort of a hierarchy, right? And a superiority complex, like at the base. And for the people, probably not our listeners, but if you know people that are utilizing platforms for that, right? They might not say out loud, but you can kind of sense that it usually comes from a place of feeling inferior, right? And trying to feel more
Mhm.
superior in their space because they need some kind of external validation to feel that way. Now, it also does not mean that it's not freaking awesome to get more followers. And it's not freaking
Yeah.
awesome to build higher platforms. And it's not awesome to grow your group because we know that you usually utilized in the best way.
Hang on, let's do a you tongue twister. How
Yeah.
many more?
You're utilizing your platforms for the right
Yeah,
reason.
exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's
Yeah, so
important.
we're certainly not saying stay small and don't keep your numbers up. We're just saying you can have, 1,000 followers and be making six figures. And I love what you said, Katie. I want to touch on this too, because um, to utilize social media, it doesn't have to take hours and hours a day. Like I would say, we've worked with enough clients that if you commit to one post a day. And if you watch Katie and I, we have little teeny snippets and then we have longer posts, right? Like an hour a day in your business for the social media is plenty if you are focused, if you know what you're talking about, if you have your intentions, you have your foundation. It's like it doesn't take that long. Now, does it take stuff on the back end? Absolutely. But when people think about like Katie and I are not necessarily out there doing a ton of videos and doing all that. Like I don't spend hours on my social media and I have a six-figure business, and so anywhere you're also watching people like ask yourself how much time is needed in this moment if you're looking to expand and watch like your time and what's going to be the best way for you to show up, right? So that leads us, I know we talked, I can't remember where, but I think we also talked about perfectionism, because if you're kind of in that popularity competition comparison perfectionism, then it kind of loses its potency. So checking yourself in um, how much time is really needed. And I would be curious to hear what Katie says too. But and often a lot of the times if your life is part of your business. So I post quite a bit more of my children and where I am. Like sometimes I'm at the beach and I'm not writing a whole bunch, but that alone is how I've created my life. So my clients are like, how do I do that? How do I live on the beach and be with my children and have a business that fulfills and reaches more people and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I think the truth is sort of like what are you utilizing it for? So if you're a coach, right, and you're utilizing organic marketing, that's the way that you can utilize it. Now, if you're a brick and mortar or a product line, it may look a little different because you're going to utilize your business page and your business platform, right? If you're using a business page versus organic, right? And we could say this across platforms. If you're making video on Instagram, if you're utilizing LinkedIn. So the strategy can be very simple though, right? And they can sort of you can utilize the strategy of simplicity across all platforms. It doesn't have to be complicated if you know your clients and your message and who you're speaking to. Really, the social media tends to if you put something out there, really what you want people to do is raise their hand and say, like, this is for me. Like, this is something for me. Like, whether it's a mentorship or it's a certification or a product or a service, whatever it is, you want somebody to see that and maybe see multiple posts, right? It takes a while for people to actually buy. It's not like they see one post and they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the answer to everything. But it depends on what platform you're utilizing and how you're utilizing it in the right way. So, and the platforms change, right? The methodology that I used a long time ago, even in my brick and mortar,
Yeah.
isn't what I'm using now. So
Yeah.
it's an ever evolving process, I want to say, because social media is always ever evolving and it will. So the one thing I always say too, as well, in this aspect is, innovate, right? And change and grow with how social media is using. Don't be like, oh, well, the way I was using it 10 years ago, I'm still using it that way. Like, no, video is awesome now, right? Like video wasn't even existent on social media
Yeah.
years ago. So and really we just want to bring this forward to have this conversation about it. And really it's not really about popularity, it's what you're utilizing your platform for and how you're setting that intention to grow your business.
Yeah. And wherever you are in your life, in your business, as a mother, as a father, we want to just send all of our appreciation to what you are creating. Are you living in your dreams, creating that into more and more prosperity? And if you are not yet, get to it because the world is ready for your magic. And we want to just thank everyone who's already supported the podcast. You've written reviews, it's growing in reviews and followers. And we just are so grateful for each and every one of you. And we know that many of you are in many different pathways to creating those dreams to your dollars. And there are dark moments and there are moments of total celebration. And typically, the deepest the dark it gets, the higher the light you can lead into. So just remember in those moments where you're just really like, what the F is happening, right around that corner is an epiphany, is something that shifts, is a energy that comes in more clarity. So don't give up. Just take it one day at a time. Katie and I know this so well. We know the depths and the darkness, and we know the light that is also so possible. And I would say we're possibilist. So we know that if you take aligned action every single day towards what your dream is, it will happen. And it might take 10 years, and it might take 20 years, and it might take a lifetime. And that's okay because that's essentially why you're on the planet. So we're sending all of you so much love. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. If you vibe with our content and want to find out how to work with us, check out our show notes for the links.